doing my work for 25 years and people were just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. And now people can drop into themselves and remember just so much quicker. It's not about the surface reality of being a mother or a wife or a doctor or having houses or things. People are realizing, oh, these things are not so important to me. It's the feeling of connection. It's those what quantum physicists will go into. It's the nothing. It's the no thing. It's the energy. And understanding that our bodies are this conduits and trusting our evolution and trusting every little, some of us get confused. Well, is that my intuition? Is that my thoughts? And we get confused. And so part of my work is helping people, like you said, they get out of their head into their body and start marrying the process of translating solar spirit information into their personality so they can walk with congruence.
Sacred trust, holistic perspectives, and dynamic growth. Join us on a journey to cultivate the inner peace you need to maximize your business success and humanistic excellence.
Soulful and gifts, you are in for a treat. This week, we are talking about mind-body medicine and shamanism for the 21st century healing with the author of Soul Side Out, The Universal Laws to Healing and Living Your Best Life, Summer Bozohora. Summer is a mind-body medicine therapist and a mind-body-soul healing mentor. I've been getting to know Summer for almost a year now through the social audio app on Clubhouse. Summer is brilliant. She possesses so much wisdom and experience and has a powerful mission on the planet. And I am thrilled to introduce you to her today. Welcome, Summer.
Hey, thanks, Kat. I'm excited to see what you're creating here and co-create with you today. It's exciting.
Good. Well, I'm really excited that you're here. For this conversation today. And I was wondering, for the viewers who may not be familiar, can you explain a little bit about what shamanism is in your terms?
Oh, in my terms, yeah, I think there's this mystique about shamanism, and maybe what it is, this magic, which it is magic, but not in the way that most people think. Shamans come from all over the world, from all walks of life. I think they are nature's healers. Shaman actually means to be among the people. It's not about someone being an expert over you or fixing you. It's about entering into the divine source energy and co-creating with it in the myriad of ways it can be co-created with. Shamans have always used multiple tools and different kinds, just like I think many people are walking into their true paths and gifts. And I think a lot of people have histories or past lives as such healers or shamans, and they're waking up to them again in this time frame.
I like that. People are remembering their gifts.
They are remembering.
It's exciting. It's exciting to see so many people waking up and remembering and stepping into that magic for themselves, because the ripple effect on the planet is it's incredible what's going to continue to happen. So I really appreciate you sharing that information with us, and for people who aren't familiar, and demystifying some of it, if you will. I wanted to talk to you about, I know we had a couple of questions that you sent in the background, but anything you feel called to speak about, I would love it, because I love when you free flow, but also talk a little bit about healing and what that means, because I think there's different meanings for different people and what healing means versus like curing or something. So if you want to share your insights, I would love to hear.
I like how I had never seen it put that way before, the demystifying. And I think there's so many things that can be demystified, like magic itself, healing and curing. We have a natural innate ability to cure, to heal. Our bodies are these mechanisms that are balanced, that are designed for joy, that are designed, like you said, to light your heart on fire. We are full of electromagnetic energies, and our body is this conduit to it all. For somehow we've been convinced that we're broken, we need to be fixed, that physical symptoms are just physical. And I find that even allopathic medicine, but even the naturopathic, some of the natural healing modalities are still about some people fixing someone else, about curing it, about whatever they think that they're doing.
Yeah.
And some of it still is based in fear. And I think that's the basic thing. Healing comes to, at the very base of it, comes to what is our power? What is our co-creative truth? And where's the courage? How do we find it again? And courage, coeur, is French from heart. So like you say, we come from our heart because the electromagnetic frequencies of the heart and the brain together create coherence or harmony within our spirit and soul. And it ripples out into our collective consciousness, as Carl Jung would have called it, or the universal matrix that we are all a part of. And that I see is, like you said, it's quickening now. Everyone, I don't know why we've been asleep. And I don't know why we've all been so fear-based and physically focused. But it's clear to me that people, I've been doing my work for 25 years and people were just kind of like, oh yeah, whatever. And now people can drop into themselves and remember just so much quicker. It's not about the surface reality of being a mother or a wife or a doctor or having houses or things. People are realizing, oh, these things are not so important to me. It's the feeling of connection. It's those what quantum physicists will go into. It's the nothing, it's the no thing, it's the energy. And understanding that our bodies are this conduits and trusting our evolution and trusting every little, some of us get confused. Well, is that my intuition? Is that my thoughts? And we get confused. And so part of my work is helping people, like you said, they get out of their head into their body and start marrying the process of translating solar spirit information into their personality so they can walk with congruence with their path on the planet. And it's the greatest gift I've been given. And I think when we're really of service and we're truly healing, I'm healed every time someone else is healed. And it is the most beautiful, magical thing I think the universe offers, is it's this mutual journey. Yeah, that's where I'd go with that for the moment.
No, that's great. I love it. And it is a mutual journey. I remember when I used to do some more hands-on energy work. I don't do it so much anymore, but I loved doing it because I felt that gift for myself too. Like what you said, I felt healed as I did some of the work, and that was magical because it was the energy working through me. It wasn't like me doing anything. It's right. Like we're a conduit or a channel, and it just comes through us for them. So it affects us just as well as the person that we're assisting. So I really appreciate that you shared that. It really resonates with me. Tell us more. You talked about quantum healing. Can you talk? Yeah.
I can see your face. You're just like,
Ooh, I'm so interested in it, have been for years. And, like you said about this quickening, I think, I've been studying stuff off and on for 25 years too, maybe not as much as you, but some people are so new to it, but all of a sudden there's so much interest and there's so much not understanding yet, just because it's new to so many people, right? Maybe you can share your thoughts on that with us today.
oh, okay. Quantum, it's such a big topic. Really, all it is marrying those two worlds, really.
Okay.
There's a famous experiment. So there's Newtonian science, and they kind of truncated it. And they talk about the objective observer and the scientific method, which means if you follow these certain steps, it's going to come out a certain way. But what most people recognize these days is the observer always affects the outcome no matter what. So if that's the case, there's nothing that's truly objective. And so actually when I wrote my thesis, it was all about mind, body, medicine, and spirituality. And I healed my eyesight quite a bit, as among other things. And I was told then that, okay, if you're writing a master's degree thesis, you have to follow this research protocol. And so I was like, okay, sure. then I was like, oh, this doesn't feel very good. It limits the co-creative process. I'm just
Right.
like that. So I just went about my intuitive way of being, and my thesis supervisor said, no, you're not following the research protocol. And I thought, okay, so you can do a subjective paper and get an integrative paper.
Mhm.
And I thought, but then I couldn't do a PhD, so it was an inferior type of research. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I went into this conundrum in my head. I'm like, this is mind body medicine. This is the integration of subjective and objective realities. Yet I'm being forced to put it in one or the other, and the objective one takes the truth out of it. So I got into every quantum physics books that I can find, and I actually went into art because my background's in art therapy, art-based research by Sean McNiff, because art and the creation of art, you start with a blank canvas and you end up with something, but people go to painting parties and they create something that's like paint by number. It's much the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
So our regular science is like, follow the paint by number and you get a specific result.
Mm-hmm.
But there's never any magic or surprise in it. Whereas quantum is like, no, have a blank canvas, breathe into yourself, choose the colors you want, and see what kind of surprise you come up with. And most people are very uncomfortable with that. That's the most simplest way that I can explain it. And I had to write a whole new chapter in my thesis as to why I should get a thesis designation, and they should change the research protocols because it was outdated science. I did. I won. So
nice.
I won that argument. It's about, in quantum physics, it's called the wave function. So we leave our body or our static reality, what we think is true, because it's the wave function or the creativity has collapsed for that moment, and we re-enter it. We re-enter the creative reality, which Einstein says is from our imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge because knowledge is static. It's what we already know. So we enter the unknown. What were you going to say something?
No, I love that. I'll swing it back to you in a minute, but it took me so long to really grasp that, because I was always like schooled, and in my family, like knowledge is everything. And to switch and to really let my imagination take over. I mean, sometimes I still struggle with it, like in full transparency, but that is where the magic happens. That is where some of my own healing has happened. And just in that letting go of the protocols. So I really appreciate that you are sharing that, you've done that in your work and like for your thesis, and you had to do that. And I meant to get a copy of your book. I have it here with me, because that was your thesis, right? Which is now your book. Is that accurate, or is that based on each other?
It's definitely based on each other. The book is a very simplified. Most people read it in 2 days, so it's not complicated.
Okay.
And then people keep it. My thesis is way too long.
Okay.
But
it's based on that, right?
It is.
It's based on that work, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it totally is.
That's awesome. That I really appreciate you being here and sharing these things about yourself. You had mentioned when you were talking, you had healed your eyesight. Do you want to tell us more about that? I only know a little bit of that story.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's one part of it. Again, glasses are a tool, as are pharmaceuticals and things like that, but a lot of people use them in an addictive nature, and the focus is outside of ourselves. We want to see everything crisp and clearly outside of ourselves. And when you go to an eye doctor, they don't go, oh, your vision's a little bit blurry. Let's see. Did you have any stress, heartache, sickness, illness in the last 6 months that might have affected your vision? No, they just, here's your glasses. That'll fix you to seeing. So they don't invite people to explore their stress. I've made a term, I call it the original vision injury. And my daughter relived it. So when I was 12, I got glasses, and I'd moved from one country to another, from Canada to Australia, and it was stressful. And I was 12, right on the edge of puberty. So my identity, I lost my friends, and I had no emotional support whatsoever. And I got glasses then. My daughter, when she turned 12, she also went through puberty. It was a stressful first introduction to high school, and she's dyslexic, so it was just too much for her. And I
Mm.
remember one day after exams driving home, she's like, Mom, everything's blurry and I can't see that sign. And I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting to watch the knowledge of this, because most parents would go, okay, we're going to drive them and we're going to go fix them with glasses right away. And I'm like, no, she's just been under
Guilty.
yeah, a tremendous amount of stress. I know what that was for me. And I know that,
Mm.
up until the age of 20, the visual system and the eyeball itself is extremely neurologically flexible. So I thought,
Mhm.
okay, we're going to let her recover from this and we're going to just watch and see what happens. And within a few months, I was like, oh, can you read that, house sign over there? Because I can't read it. And she's like, yeah, it's 5306. And I'm like, okay, she's good. She's good. Because when you're injured or sick, you put a band-aid on it and it heals. It's like with eyeballs, you don't expect them to heal. I don't know where that belief comes from. And then they just fix them with really expensive like things. And anyway, so I learned a lot about ophthalmology and reading prescriptions and helping people reduce them, because it actually limits our access to different parts of our brain when we wear full strength prescriptions.
Mhm.
Optometrists aren't taught anything like that. I did a natural vision improvement certificate and stuff like that too. So
That's cool.
it was pretty cool. And
And
yeah, my vision's not 20/20. Sometimes it is in good daylight. But I
okay.
used to be a -5, which is considered a moderate to high myope. And now
Mhm.
like in a -2. So I've dropped over half of my prescription and I can see things clearly by I know how to control my accommodation, which a lot of people don't know how to do. But
If somebody wanted to learn about that, can you assist them in learning how to control the accommodation? Is that
yes, there's so many tools and ideas and things that we don't realize. We treat our eyeballs like slaves, like, oh, focus at this thing and put these glasses in, and we don't give them
Mhm.
time to rest. So yeah, and Clubhouse, we've got a natural vision improvement thing, and I've got a whole intro class coming up for people so that they can really treat what I call their precious perceptual orbs with a lot more respect and care. Because the eyes are the windows to the soul, and we don't treat them like that at all. We are kind of really violent to them. So, yeah, I don't write about the vision part in my book at all, but
Mhm.
it's certainly how I healed my eyesight more than anything. Not eye exercises, reducing my prescriptions, doing my inner work. Um, and even adults can do it. But kids,
That's,
they're instant because their whole thing is still more flexible. So,
and as you were speaking about that, like the kids being instant, and as you shared your story about your daughter, which I was unfamiliar with, I have spent lots of money on glasses for two of my kids because, you're right. They don't, when you go to many types of doctors, typically, they don't ask you about the big picture and holistically what's going on with you. And I would go in and buy my kids glasses because I was in the fix it mode. And then 6 months later, the prescription didn't work because their eyes were back to normal. Like they were healing on their own. We weren't doing anything. It probably just like what you said, we were reducing the stress in an area of their life just because that's, what we wanted to do. We weren't intentional about it for some healing protocol, if you will. But I can't tell you how many pairs of glasses I have that we don't need. Um, and it's frustrating to have shelled out all that money, but it's, if anybody can relate to that, it's really great to hear your story and the story of your daughter. I appreciate that. Tell us a little bit more, because we only have about 10 minutes, about mind body medicine for,
yeah,
that.
so mind body medicine, it's kind of like, I had a natural vision improvements and people come in, they go, you can improve your eyesight? What? As if they're static and separate from the rest of the body. So everything about the body and everything going with it is not separate from every other part of it.
Mhm.
Not separate from the mind, it's not separate from the soul. And some people are like, well, what is the soul? Well, the heart has these electromagnetic frequencies that you can electrically shock into being. So these electromagnetic frequencies, where do they come from?
Mm.
Like, how is this heart started? Why is it in there? Um, so mind body medicine is really about the belief that everything's a mirror. It's a hologram, when we get into the quantum physics of it, of the outside reality. And so we're actually projecting our reality outside of ourselves. We think that, I've got breast cancer, there's something wrong with my breast, but it has more to do with nurturing and our belief systems, and the energetic, emotional traumas or realities behind the physical mechanism.
Yeah.
And I always like woo woo and science, they always seem so separate. And one of the people that I quote in my book is Dr. John Sarno, because he was a Cornell trained medical doctor. And I was always like, why when I go in, because I used to have chronic migraines and I learned how to interrupt them like that and stop them without medication.
Mm.
They used to last for 3 days. It was more like a stroke. My whole left side of my body would go numb. It was so painful. And then I learned how to interrupt them and then stop them altogether through mind body awareness. And I used to think, well, why does that work? And Dr. John Sarno talks about, and relates to all disease. He's got it all listed, and he talks about the symptom imperative. So unless we get to the underlying cause, we create more and more symptoms. We can cut one thing out and then we're going to get something else because we haven't addressed the underlying cause. So he talks about how the mechanism of the neuropeptide branch of the autonomic nervous system, peptides are these little, whatever you want to call them, translator molecules or communication molecules between the brain and the body. And with unconscious emotions, which none of us, like we come from the emotional dark ages, we're never taught. And psychology doesn't do it. And a lot of other things don't help you energetically understand. And this is my process of Inside Out, takes people energetically in, but also outside to the verbal discourse. So the physical reality. So it's meant to bridge both those pieces because that's really what we need to do. Anyways, I've kind of lost my train of thought, but the body, when we have unconscious emotions, anger, grief, resentment, all those difficult ones that we tend to want to avoid, it creates, by Dr. John Sarno, oxygen deprivation in the body. And it can be in any part of the body, and that actually creates physical pain. Dr. Otto Warburg, he's a Nobel Prize winning scientist, he says cancer cannot live in an oxygen rich environment. And so people go to hyperbaric chambers, they have oxygen, they have all these things. It's like, well, why don't you get at the real source, which is your unconscious emotions? And there's EFT and there's lots of different things, but to get at the energetic shift that happens, that you feel, that's resonant in your body, I find taking the imagination and taking it into a verbal reality, changing it from the energetic dream world into understanding it in our what do you want to call it, our language, changing soul language into a verbal English. It's the translation that is so important, and that creates that aha, that creates instant healing. So one just quick example, and another one that I love, is Anita Morjani. She had cancer riddled all over her body. She's written the book Dying to Meet Me. Love the title.
Great book. Yeah.
That's what we're all doing. Being sick to be me, dying to be me. She was unconscious in the hospital. She went to the universal matrix, that wave function realm of pure love, bliss, whatever. And she realized, oh, the belief that I had that my father doesn't love me, or that I'm not worthy, or whatever that actual belief was, she was like, oh, it's not true. And her guide, she visited heaven, whatever, and she just got this, oh, it's not true. And so they invited her to either, she could leave the planet or come back. She came back. She woke up in the hospital without cancer. And of course,
that's incredible.
Yeah, they can't explain that, but it happens all the time. I had a client with an autoimmune disorder for 26 years, and she got this inflammation in her eyes again. It's called neuritis, and it was the worst case her ophthalmologist had ever seen. She did some of the work with me, read the book, came to the classes. She went, oh. And she went into this process. She got her ahas, got the physical what to do with it. Like, it's nice to do energy work, but then it's nice to go, and she knew what to do.
Take action.
Take action to remedy it in her actual physical life. She woke up the next morning without it.
That's incredible. Like, that's powerful.
Yeah. It is only because this is what we're unlearning, all these beliefs that it's static and isn't possible. It's not really
Mhm.
magic, and it's not really actually that hard.
It's a lot about the beliefs, right?
Mm.
And the emotional attachment to those beliefs. So if we can shift those, what you're saying, and tap in, we can change a lot of what's going on physically. Is that an accurate
Absolutely.
assessment? Yeah. That's, do you find that a lot of people have trouble accepting that?
Well,
Or,
it's hard because we're attached to our reality, and one of the biggest things we don't realize is we're fear, and sometimes religion plays into that because you're going to get punished for different things or different beliefs. There's a lot of fear. Um,
yeah.
Fear is one of the biggest things too. You go to the dentist, you're afraid, and so you feel pain. If you can, there's three different types of thoughts that I've identified. One is fear based, one is ego based, and the other is neutrality, where you're open to the understanding of any situation. Whether you have an abusive relationship, you have this trigger with someone and you're annoyed with them and you don't know why, or if it's a physical symptom.
Mm.
So, for example, I cut my foot once on a bike spoke just after a nasty conversation with my husband that really cut me deep. And
Mhm.
my foot it's a 2.5 inch gash on my foot. I could see all of the striations of my bone and my stuff. And my ex-husband was like, "Oh my God, ew." He was throwing up. He's like, "You have to go to the doctor."
Mm.
And I thought to myself, I'm a healer and I can do it myself. And my ex-husband's wrong and I'll prove him wrong. Those were my thoughts. And I thought, and I had these sharp stabbing pains. I was like, "Ee." And I thought, oh my God, that hurts. And then I thought, oh no, no, God, look how disgusting that is. And it's got grease. And I'm like, oh my God, I better go to the doctor and get stitches, like he says. And so then I went from ego based to fear based. And then the pain would throb.
Mhm.
And I went, oh, that's really interesting. It's the first time I noticed my thoughts changed the physical sensation in my body. And then
Mm.
I started breathing in, my own breathing into my awareness. Okay, I've manifested this. Open awareness. Why is this? Through my process of I'm going inside to figure it out. I felt nothing. There was,
Mm. Interesting.
and so most of us thinks physical pain is physical because we're only based in one thought, which is typically fear. Because none of us think, oh, I can heal it myself. We're told to go to the doctor or someone else who's an expert. So we don't go into the ego-based thoughts. And we certainly
Mhm.
don't know how to just rest without fear. So then we believe it's real because we're only thinking one way.
Right. So I love that story, and it really brings up a lot for me. And we are getting so short on time. I have like a whole bunch of questions I want to ask you, and we don't have time for that. But I hope that that story lands for someone, or sparks their curiosity. If they would want to know more about anything that you've talked about, or your healing work, or your book, how can they reach you, or how can people find you, Summer?
Well, I would sure you can come and actually have discussions with Kat and I and a bunch of other wonderful healers from around the world with these types of similar topics in Clubhouse. We have
Mm-hmm.
a Shaman's Healing Sanctuary. You're all invited to join, or you can go to my website, mindbodymedicinetherapy.com, and you'll find me there too.
Awesome, Summer. Thank you. I appreciate that. I hope people will come find you, because I love the message that you share, and that you've been showing up for so long doing this, and you live your truth and you honor like your soul and the people that come to see you. So I appreciate you spending some time with us here today. I will also, if people want to reach you, have notes on my blog. You can find Summer through me if you didn't catch what she shared. And for our viewers that are watching this live right now, we invite you to join the after party. We have a 30-minute time frame for informal conversation with Summer, where you can ask her or I anything about mind body medicine, shamanism, self-healing, whatever's on your heart. And if you're watching the replay and like what was shared in this episode, you can have your own conversations with me in my new community, where we have opportunities for group conversations. You can go to creatrix.club. That's KREATRIX.club to join the new community. Find out about my work on catmoulton.com, or go to the Win-Win store. I have a very special introductory coaching opportunity that's coming, and it will be only available through the Win store. And you can also see many of our other show hosts and what they do and offer there. I invite you to check out other shows on the Win-Win Women. There are amazing shows and hosts about any topic you can think about, from divorce or grief, creativity, business, speaking, so much more. And just a tip, our Saturday lineup is fantastic. It starts with Janine's voice in the morning, and then the radiant Lisa Hannigan teaches us to engage and shine before my show. And after that, Ileana's Joy with Ileana Hahn, because who does not want to feel more joy in their life? There is an afternoon lineup filled with wisdom. So I thank you all for being here today. Fiery Soul Sisters, just a reminder, this is not just a show, it's a movement. To remind you that you are a powerful creatrix living in the matrix. The world needs women who are fully awake, dangerously alive, and unified in heart and purpose. So from my heart to yours, may the energy of love flow through and expand to create waves of pure positive impact. Humanity needs you to embody your creatrix energy so you can unlearn the programming, unlock your heart, and unleash your gifts. Thank you so much for your time, presence, and energy today. Until next time, so much love.